With Google Play Music set to shutter in favour of YouTube Music, if you're simply not a fan of the replacement, you might be looking for a serious alternative. So we've collated 7 of our favourites to help you switch seamlessly. Thanks for watching 9 to 5 Google on YouTube. Remember to thumbs up, hit subscribe and enable notifications with the bell icon to be among the first to watch our upcoming videos. Unfortunately, while Google Play Music was ultimately flawed, it was still pretty much one of a kind. Some of the core abilities, like the ability to upload your offline library, really was a killer addition that made it such a fantastic streaming app and indeed service. I, like you, will really miss Google Play Music, and as a subscriber that has reluctantly moved over to YouTube Music, I've done that simply to ease the pain of switching when the inevitable shutdown does come. I have a decent sized 10,000 track library with over 1,000 albums and numerous more playlists. Transferring almost a decade of audio has been difficult at the best of times. If you're happy to stick to locally stored playlists, then you might want to try AMP. It's a fantastic music player for Android with support for tons of audio codecs including AAC, FLAC, M4A, OGG and WAV, plus more on top. That makes it ideal if you do have ample storage for your entire library and are happy to transfer music from your PC or laptop without needing an internet connection. After all, streaming isn't for everyone. The most obvious Google Play Music alternative is the world's biggest dedicated music streaming platform, Spotify. It has one of the biggest libraries, the most active communities, and really neat playlist features that make it so popular with millions across the globe. On top of that, it probably has the best outright app experience across all of your devices too. The added controls that allow you to pause and play music from multiple devices are a killer feature. Add in a free tier that lets you play albums and playlists with ads, and you've got a solid option if you're not a heavy music listener. One of the few online music streaming apps that values sound quality, alongside Tidal of course, the killer feature of Deezer is the ability to stream 16-bit FLAC quality audio for $19.99 a month. While that high quality audio is nice, it is still a tad expensive, which makes it harder to fully recommend Deezer to the casual listener. With over 35 million tracks to listen to, it does have a large high quality audio library for you to sift through if you consider yourself an audiophile though. The dedicated Deezer app does feel a little like Spotify Lite, with similar menus and sections that you would easily confuse for what we would consider the gold standard in online streaming right now. If you're at home with Spotify, then Deezer is essentially the same in all the ways that matter the most. Only officially available in the United States, unless you're happy to use a VPN of course, Pandora is a solid Google Play Music alternative that does have a free tier and a paid tier. The free version of Pandora acts like a radio of sorts, allowing you to skip tracks, thumbs up or thumbs down, and relies heavily on randomized playlists. The $10 per month paid tier gives you access to all of the common listening features you've come to expect from a music streaming app though. The app itself is relatively clean but functional. I can't say I like the look of the player screen, especially with ads on display, and the categories could be slightly better organised, but overall it is a decent player that will undoubtedly be good enough for listening on the go, especially if you're not a heavy music listener. Founded by Jay-Z and friends, Tidal offers the supposed highest fidelity for those that value their listening experience. The streaming platform was also built upon the principle that artists are better compensated than other competing services. It offers one of the best audio streaming experiences of any music services available right now, save having local files on your device. I have to say the interface is sleek with obvious design cues taken from Spotify. It's familiar enough though that you don't feel too disorientated, and the tutorial really helps you get acquainted with all of the features and functions. But Tidal is easy to grasp for anyone that has ever used a music player before. Yes, Apple does have its own streaming platform, it's actually not that bad either. For some reason though, Apple decided it would make a music app cross-platform. It does mean you have another solid option to choose from though. The free tier lets you listen to any previously purchased music from iTunes, which might be useful if you do have an existing library. The playlist recommendations are not particularly great in my experience, but this is a typically slick iOS app ported over to Android. My biggest gripe is that if you are an ardent Windows user, then you have to deal with the awful iTunes to listen on desktop. The playlist options are pretty good though for discovering new music, but it does pale to Spotify in most regards. In terms of the interface, Apple Music feels the closest to Play Music in terms of layout and design, but it still has some quite notable Apple design principles. It's relatively clean, but it doesn't run quite as well on Android as it does on iOS, probably for obvious reasons. For those of you with an Amazon Prime account already, then Amazon Music might actually be a really good option, as you get access to a decent selection of music as part of your existing subscription. There are around about 2 million tracks that you can stream at no extra cost, but you can upgrade to an unlimited account that allows you access to the entire library of online artists, tracks and playlists. Any of your previous music purchases made via Amazon will be pulled into the service, which makes it easy to transfer across should you lose the online store to get hold of albums and tracks. The interface does take a hybrid approach that, like many, has cues taken directly from Spotify, but it does remain true to the Amazon desktop site. One thing that you may love or hate though is the easy to reach play controls, which are quite tightly packed at the bottom of your display. If you don't care about the latest and greatest music from the world's biggest artists, then you might want to try Jamendo. This is an underground alternative to Google Play Music that's fantastic for discovering new artists and is very much like SoundCloud, itself a great music platform. Jamendo does have vibes of SoundCloud in the interface, with a sound waveform visualizer and clean look that feels as though it's catered more towards buying music than listening. However, it's still a nice overall experience, but it doesn't allow for Chromecast connections. That's the biggest downside. So with Play Music set to be shunted in favour of YouTube Music, what are you planning to use instead? Let us know down there in the comments section below. But with all of that said, this is Damien with 9to5 Google saying thanks for watching, and I will speak to you later.